G'day, guys. Welcome back to Season 3, Episode 11 of the SuperCoach Swordplay Podcast. I'm Janath, and I'm joined by my beautiful co-hosts, SuperCoach with DR and Spills. I'll start with you, DR. How was your week? SuperCoach-wise, life in general? Just give us a full spiel, mate.
G'day, Janath. Good to see you again, brother. Yeah, look, not a bad week, mate. Not a bad week. Football-wise, SuperCoach-wise, certainly wasn't terrific. End up going to the G to witness my Lions get crushed by the lowly Hawks. I was going in there, mate, expecting a pretty decent win, but unfortunately did not bring home the chocolates or couldn't take home the chocolates this week. SuperCoach-wise, again, not fantastic, but there was a bit of a shining light, as I mentioned in my round review, and that's the fact that I caught up with Steve from SDS Supercoach. So, as we know, an absolute legend. So, although we didn't win the day, got to spend it with Steve and my best mate, Brent. So, very, very good company. And for anyone that is tuning in this week, make sure that you do subscribe to Steve, SDS Supercoach on YouTube. Absolute beautiful human there, and just a ripping bloke, and really knows his SuperCoach as well. So quick plug for him. And look, SuperCoach wise, mate, 2106. Unfortunately, out of the top 10k now. We're all bragging last week, first time we're all in the top 10k, and then I've gone out and seen see you later in just the 1 week, but not too far out, boys. Not too far out. Went down 329 spots. But looking to claw back. What really hurt me this week, I put all my eggs in the one basket with the Jordan Dawson VC. I was worried about going Dunkley. I thought, look, if I don't want to have to make a decision between taking a 125 to 130 because Dawson surely is going 150 plus, but he gave me a bit of a dud, and then it was basically Zach Merritt, and lucky he managed to scrape to 100 plus with some forward time in the second half. So that was my week in a nutshell, boys. So not great, but did get to meet a legend of the SuperCoach community.
That's beautiful, isn't it? Just the SuperCoach community as a whole, just everyone coming together, being able to build that camaraderie like we have on the potty. Speaking of which, Spills, I'll handball it over to you. Give us a rundown of your week, SuperCoach-wise and just in general.
Yeah, hope you boys both gone very well. Had a great week. Or when I say great week, I mean with stock standards, you like 2,157. We went up 661 spots in the rank. 7 weeks in a row, boys. We've had a good rank change, and we've risen up the rank. So
nice work.
We're obviously progressing, and we're sitting 6.6k overall. Obviously, the highest we've been all season, and my moves were pretty much identical to you, D. I had the VC on our Dawson, which wasn't really ideal, but then fall back on Merritt, who pretty much saved his score. They chucked him forward, kicked the goal, snapped around the corner, and went right up to Ed Kerner and said, "Mate, you're done. Your career's over, mate. I got last laugh." And that 105 was a special. It's probably the best 105 captain I've ever had, because he did save it, and a lot of people were stitched up actually captaining Dawson. For those that VC'd Butters or English and fell back on Dawson, that was pretty heavy days. But kudos to those that actually VC'd Dunkley or VC'd or captained Laird. I mean, I didn't really think about that, but it was really an interesting week. Just sort of scraped along SuperCoach, didn't drop too much, didn't rise too much, but Sicily's a massive talking point. I'll try to keep you boys updated with what the go is on that on Twitter. I'll see if he plays, see if he gets 1, 2, 3, even more weeks, however we know. But and my trades as well, boys. Bought in. We got rid of Zeeble, who I said last week was absolutely cooked. He's thrown egg on my face with the 107, the Barton. I've traded in the Seagull, who. Well, he was a seagull that couldn't get any chips, lads. It was just painful to watch. I didn't see any of the second half. I turned it off and watched the movie. I was absolutely livid with it. I'll save that for later on. I don't want to talk about Seagull. I've had enough of the bloke. But going all right, boys. We'll see how we go.
Good to hear, Spills. It does feel a bit of a bittersweet week. Well, I felt like it was a personal attack when you said that some people captain Jordan Dawson, because I was in that boat. I did captain him. And that probably contributed to the 2083 that I got this week. It's not great. Slid back 600 spots. Oh, Rory Laird, Jordan Dawson. The captaincy was on Laird with 20 minutes to go. And this is why the number one rule as SuperCoach is never make any impulse or late decisions. I've been it's had the VC on English, and what that blew up in everyone's faces on Friday, and then fell back on Jordan Dawson. He didn't go any better.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was.
I've done another drive-by on you, Janath. That's not the first one this weekend. I had a couple of probably had one or too many. Oh, I reckon we had one or two too many beers or lolly waters, as you will, on the Sunday night. So very happy with yourself with the victory.
You are okay. I know Spills is out here saying 6 goals, 16. What a rabble! I'm surprised he didn't tag me in the tweet at this rate.
That's a rabble if I've ever seen one. Just carnage.
Oh, Spills, we know. You don't need to spell it out for us. We know we're a rebel. But anyways, down to 3.3K. I think this was the week that a lot of good super coaches were sort of ruined the fact that it was best 18 because they got a good team, but you just can only get 18 players on the park. But the next 2 weeks coming up will be big. As I sort of mentioned last week, I did hold Jordan De Goey. Just in case a Sack Merritt got suspended, Will Day got injured. He almost got injured in the first 5 minutes of the game. You're like, oh, here we go. But nothing eventuated. So we'll again reassess this week, see how we go for numbers, and then play from there. But I guess I'm complaining about a suspended player. I think, DR, you'll be complaining about a coach and his old teacher's pet. Take it away with your rant.
Well, he deserves what's coming, whatever this is.
I'll tell you, sorry, Spills. You said you didn't want to talk any more about the seagull, but I tell you what, a horse and a seagull have absolutely screwed my week this week. Oh, it was a big decision. Look, at the end of the day, I thought, look, Zeebel's got to go out. So out went Zeebel, and in came Lockie Neal. And then I had the next decision. I had Seamus Mitchell sitting there, and I thought to myself, well, look, he's definitely going to be traded out next week anyway. I think he will make around 20K, but can I make a move, go a little bit early, get someone decent on field this week in place of Seamus, someone that's already had their bye, and actually get them to make some coin for me, as well as give me some really good on-field points. And I was sorting through the players. Luke Ryan, not really, not interested. And I looked at Jack Sinclair and the Seagull Lloyd. Who do you reckon I went with? I went with the Seagull Lloyd. I looked back at his scores. I thought, it's all good with Rampy in the side. Still went 100 plus on both occasions. He should just be a nice, safe pick. And coming up against St Kilda this week, I don't want to miss out on that big bag of points. And wouldn't you believe it? After 12, 13 years in the system, as soon as I bring this man in, Horse decides that he should have a bit of a positional change, a bit of a shift to the bloody wing, guarding space on a wing. This is the Seagull. We brought him in for those chips, for those free, juicy. Are they juicy? No, sorry, crispy. They're crispy. We don't want juicy chips. Crispy chips.
That's what we got.
That's what we got, didn't we? That's what we got. Some soggy chips.
Stale bloody chips, DR.
Oh, I tell you, Spills. I tell you. But this is the thing with the chips, right? They were soggy for the first 3 quarters, but by the end of the game, tell you what, they were crisp. They were nice. Extra chicken salt. It's meant to be the other way around with the chips, isn't it? But no, I don't even know if Horse came to his senses. I think he was pretty much forced into it. Blakey's gone out, so they've gone, all right, Seagull, go back to your natural position. And I'll tell you what, mate, this is possession count. Quarter 1, 5, 3. In the third quarter, doughnuts. As I mentioned, absolutely nothing, just guarding space on the wing. And then gets moved to the defensive line, 11 touches and a goal for 49 points in that quarter. So what could have been? What could have been?
What happened when you put a player in position?
What's going on, Spills? What's going on? We should have had a nice 140, mate.
Key position. Ridley playing key position. It's amazing. When you put them in their positions, they perform. I mean, we see it from the sidelines and comment, but these guys are professional coaches. Surely they know what they're doing. Himmelberg, play him down back. Sicily and Ridley, play him third tall. Seagull, play him in defence, not on the wing. No one is sitting here losing to St Kilda on their home deck. They're the real rabble, Janath.
Yeah, and just rub it in as well.
I tell you what. Yeah. Just to add to this, Jake Lloyd's. Yeah, Well, Jake Lloyd, the points he got in that fourth quarter were ridiculous. He was just getting ground ball after ground ball. They weren't even contested. He was going up five points for a handball every single time. CD's love child is back. He's back. But it did coincide with Nick Blakey going out. So we'll definitely see how that tracks along. Good rant there, DR. I think that a lot of other coaches will empathise with you. We've all been burnt by Horse in the past. Remember a couple of weeks back, Callum Mills, where'd he play? His very first centre down before getting that injury.
That's right. Horse, did you not long ago?
On the wing. Where's Errol Goulden's scoring gone? Because he's playing the bloody wing. The Sydney wing. Matt Roberts, where's he gone? He's a bloody wing. All the wings at Sydney either injured or they don't score well.
There's been in the previous years too, so the list goes on, lads.
Yeah.
So the question, the main message out of this is never pick a winger for the Sydney Swans.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Good way to bookend that, mate.
With that, though, let's talk about some Sydney Swan rookies that are a bit more expensive that don't play on the wing in a new segment. So this is our popular question segment where we take the consensus questions from the internet, from Twitter, and we put them together in a shorter segment that we can just crack through them all. So we're going to start off by talking about expensive rookies. So really this week, there's no real downgrade targets per se. O'Shane Mullen has got an adductor injury, and he'll be missing. I don't think he's going to see that senior team again at the Cattery. So unless we go early on a rookie like a Ryan Marich or another Harvey Harrison from Collingwood.
There is Fahey, Janath.
There is Fahey with the bye next week, though. So it's like,
but he's all
is it really worth it? He does look good. He does look good. But let me give you 4 guys, Spills, and we'll rank them as well. We're going to give you 4 guys that have had their bye, but are all above 150K. So the first one I have, Angus Sheldrick, inside mid for the Sydney Swans, may or may not have been playing just because Parker was injured, and Callum Mills to come back in 1 to 2 weeks. But he did get a good CBA percentage. Our thoughts on Angus Sheldrick?
He'll lose that, I reckon, when they come back.
That's my main concern, because he was an early type draft pick, I think, from memory, Sheldrick, or possibly even a little bit of a bolder. But that's the main issue for me. Parker is a major CBA mid. He spends a little bit of time forward, and I think he's a capable forward, but that's where they prefer him, or that's where he's been spending the majority of his time. So I think when Parker comes back, Sheldrick just loses that role. So I don't think short, medium to even long term that he's going to be too relevant due to that. Well, the fact that Parker's coming back, and there's another bloke. Who's the other blokes to come back in there as well? Mills.
So you got Callum Mills.
Callum Mills.
2 weeks away. Yep.
Yeah, 1 to 2 weeks away. Look, who knows? He hasn't been playing too much in the middle, and that's what we've been complaining about. What he's playing on a wing, crying out loud. But look, with those 2 blokes coming back, that puts me off him as a midfield pick, mate. That's the main thing behind that.
Yeah, he did look very good. I must say that 44% CBAs. He did seem to roam the ground well, and probably got dogged out on a bit of his score with that late 50-meter penalty that gave Wangani Malera the goal near the end of the game. But it's just like you boys are saying, it's very hard to go there. Spills, do you have anything else you want to add there about Sheldrick as an option?
Oh, he's definitely a nice talent. He's a bit of a slider in his draft. So he had a really good draft year. So his future's bright. But yeah, the ins that Sydney have to come back can only really hurt him. And you paid top dollar for the bloke. It's just awkward. I wouldn't go there. It's a bit like Matty Johnson, who's just come off a 90 plus, which is all well and good. But you expect that to sort of go out the window when what's his face comes back into the team. I can't remember. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So when O'Meara comes back, it's hard to see those CBAs being sustainable, and I reckon Sheldrick's going to have that same problem in terms of the Mills and Parker factor. So yeah, it's a miss for me, but it's definitely worth the discussion.
Now, maybe a bit biased here, Spills, but you did raise an interesting point about Matty J. DR, we're both Matty J owners, and how good does he look as a midfielder. And I'll tell you what, he only had 42% CBAs without O'Meara compared to 31% last week with him. So, or the previous week against Melbourne with him. So I don't think the difference is that big. He is built like a pure inside mid into the future. He is so clean, loves to tackle. He's going to be a gun into the future.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the difference, as you said, he's so clean. I think his first couple of matches this year anyway, he was a little bit fumbly, I think a little bit panicked under pressure at times, but it's like he's really got the pace for the game now, and he's looking like a different player. And if given some opportunity, this bloke could really, really shine. So absolutely with you there, mates. It was a pick early on that I was almost regretting making, but now we're finally starting to reap the rewards of MJ. So, yeah, fantastic, mate. Really rate him.
Talk about rising from the dead in terms of the dead rookies.
Oh, yeah. How good is it, mate?
Wow. It's unreal. Hopefully, Matty Roberts can do the same thing later on the season.
That'd be nice.
Well, speaking of sort of rookies that we weren't expecting to see come up into our teams or into our calculations, I'll tell you what, someone I was very high on in preseason, Marcus Windhagar. After a couple of scores affected by the substitute, he is now sitting at 175.5k. He's got DPP. He has a 26 break even against a matchup against Richmond. Hunter Clark is 3 to 5 weeks away. Is he an alternative option as a downgrade target compared to Angus Sheldrick?
Oh, well, again, you're paying that inflated price, aren't you? 175. I rate him as a player. I really rate him as a player. What did he score last week? I think it was between 40 and 50. I think it was from memory. Is Bytel getting a game at the moment?
So Bytel's out of the team at the moment. Yeah.
I think Bytel could be some competition for Windhagar. I think he's possibly only one bad game away from someone like Bytel getting a look in. I don't think that he's someone that's going to demand a spot unless he performs really, really well. So that would be my major concern. I think with Clark out, that certainly bodes well for him, but I think they've got a few other players that could also step into that role. So I don't think it's as if they're starved for players that could actually step in there. So for me, I would tend to shy away from him, mainly because he needs to rely on keeping up those performances to really stay in the team at that inflated price. But look, given the fact he's already had the bye, that's a real positive. And I don't think that he's the worst move in the world. But he's not someone that I could actively endorse, I don't think, at the same time. Spills, any differences to that, mate?
I think he summed it up pretty well, DR. I don't really apply to comment too much on. So I haven't really had him on my radar. And just similar to Sheldrick and with whatsoever. I just wouldn't be considering him, but that's very ignorant of myself because I haven't been paying tabs on him. I don't know if he's going to be a good selection. So I'll just be writing him off completely. But I love his defensive work. He's a great tagger. But in terms of fighting the ball, I'm just not really sure. So we'll have to watch. I'll keep an eye on him this week and see what happens. And if he goes up a little bit in price, if he scores like 80 or something, he'd be in the conversation maybe next week. But yeah, he won't be in my team this week, that's for sure.
Does he do more work with Steele? So who knows? Yeah, sorry, Janath.
I guess something to add to this conversation is both of them were heavily affected by games with poor efficiency. So in terms of, we like to talk about DT to SC ratios when we think about efficiency, whatnot. So Sheldrick went at 79 Dream Team and 61 Supercoach, and Windhagar 66 Dream Team, 42 Supercoach. So both of them were affected by poor efficiency games. Sheldrick's stats, though, 19 disposals, 6 tackles, 10 contested possessions, 7 clearances in 52% time on ground.
Good numbers.
Or 57% time on ground. If he can stay in the team with Parker, I think he has that leg up on Windhagar, but I prefer Windhagar's job security at the moment just because he's in the team right now, and he didn't do anything to suggest that he should be out of the team next week. But he didn't really do anything to suggest he'll be in the team next week either. So it's just one of those, he needs a good game to really lock himself in.
And that's the trouble with
Yeah.
these blokes at these type of prices, aren't they? The inflated prices. The old boys. But I suppose even if we weren't in a buy situation, it's still tough for downgrades at the moment, unless you're looking to go early. So, don't love either of the picks, but I suppose
I
we
think
can't.
marriage next week, I think, will be a really good pick because, I mean, he did only score like 40, but, I mean, they got belted. But you can't really expect too much from the poor bugger. But he looks really good. Super agile. Like, reminds me a lot of, like, Jack Gunston. Like, a really sort of third tall forward. Like, just agile, but probably play key position. He moves well. He kicked the first goal for West Coast, I know. So the confidence will be up there. 102K buy. But next week might be in the conversation. Perfect person to sort of downgrade to. So I'm happy to wait a week. I'd love to get rid of Mitchell, though. That's my only problem, holding Seamus Mitchell. But in terms of who to downgrade him for, I don't really know. So I think I'm probably just going to hold off trades.
I might have the savior for you. DR, you're going to be able to talk about this bloke a little bit. Devin Robertson, sorry. I just butchered his name. He scored 0 and -1 in the 2 games before this. But wouldn't you know, comes out on the MCG and scores 84 points, 14% CBAs, but his heat map shows that he was everywhere. 186.9k mid. Can we trust him for both scoring and job security into at least this week and next week when we have best 18?
Oh, he's such a sub risk.
Man, yeah, like scoring's one thing, job security is another. I was mentioning, and this goes back to the Harry Sharp conversation. I don't know if you boys remember when we were talking about Sharp. Robinson's one of the names that I mentioned that could come into the side, and a bloke that I'd really want to see come into the side. Pryor was another one of those names that we actually saw in the side in the past weekend as well. So that, terrible. He's out this week. He's got to go this week, right? So, look, it's a really, really it's so tough. It's so tough with Dev. If it was up to me, he'd be in the side. Now, I'm going to make a big call here, and I hate to say this because he's been an absolute warrior for us. Anyone that's been following me on SuperCoachTalk.com all those years back, DR, short for Daniel's Riches. I love Daniel Rich, a great man. But I've got question marks whether or not he's actually in our best 22 at the moment. Daniel Rich, I think he's really started to slow up. I know that his kicking has always been a weapon for us, but, you know, how much do you compromise for that big left boot? I'm really not too sure. I really like the look of the Pepsi Max King down back. I like him down back because I think he gives us a bit of speed, bit of aggression, bit of attack, a bit of flair as well. Now, he certainly hasn't got the boot that Daniel Rich has, but I like him down back. I certainly think he's okay in a wing, but I like him down back. And if that's the case, and this issue with Fagan, right, he can't make hard decisions. He hates making hard decisions. He stays very, very loyal to players, and it'd be very difficult for any coach to drop someone like a Daniel Rich, but I think you've got to start to make tough decisions, particularly after the last couple of losses that we've had. Do we want to make just the top 4 again, go out in a prelim, or do we actually want to go all the way? Let's start making some changes now. So I want to see Wilmot go back, and I think a spot opens up for Dev Rob to play on a wing and also play a little bit of inside time. Now, Hugh McCluggage is going to be out for the next week, so that definitely bodes well for his security in the next couple. And I think that he's got the potential to actually play his way into our side now. After his performance on the weekend, I watched him live. He's one of the few blokes that can actually hold his head high after that performance, I think. And given the fact that he's got some opportunity now that McCluggage is out, Pryor played an absolute shocker. Surely he's got to go. I think Zorko will come back in if he's available this week. Even Kitty Coleman has been on the outer, so he's no guarantee to come back into the 22 as well. If you're basing things off form, Dev's got to stay in, and I think he's got the potential to play his way into the side in the next couple of weeks. So I actually do not mind Dev Rob as an option, but I think that for a lot of that time, he would be playing that wing role, and that can be unfriendly, as we know. But I think given his traits and his strengths, that he will also be able to push into the inside as well. You know, Bailey, he had his opportunity in midfield. He just hasn't really taken that. So I just prefer him as a forward now. Give someone like a Dev the opportunity. But this is more from me, what I think is best for the side. I can't speak on behalf of Chris Fagan, but I like him, and I think out of the players that we've discussed so far, maybe a bit of Brisbane bias because I'm a big fan of Dev. He's a bloke that I would go with, to be quite honest. He's a bloke.
I'd go with you, DR. I 100%. I think he's been a perfect super sub for you guys this year because he's the type of bloke where he'd sort of be like your fourth or fifth best mid. Where if you've got tired legs, he can come in and have a major impact. And not only that, another point that you probably missed, I don't know how relevant this is, but Fagan should probably respect him a little bit more in terms of where he plays him. And I think he's probably playing him for a signature because it's only a matter of time before potentially the bloke requests a trade to the West Coast Eagles or something like that. Because if he doesn't get a crack, he will get a crack at the Eagles, 100%.
Absolutely.
And, WA boy. So I think if I was Fags, I'd be putting a bit more footy into him. I think the CBAs should go up a little bit because you want to retain him as a player. He was ranked number 1 in his draft for contested possessions and tackles, I think. So huge numbers. He'd be a big loss for you guys. So yeah, exactly right. So I like him as well, DR. And even if he's not a sub and he's named and he might get minutes, and I do need a downgrade last minute, he might be someone I look to get a Seamus Mitchell down to. Food for thought, but I really like him as a pick and by far my favourite option out of all these blokes that we spoke about.
Cool. And I think I agree with you there. So if all 3 were named this week, if we're just thinking best scoring, I'd probably be going Robertson over Sheldrick over Windhagar. If job security plays a bit of a role, Spills, you raise a great point there about the fact that he could just as well request a trade WA if he doesn't get the minutes. So again, thinking about long-term, if he's named this week with Zorko and there's someone that can go out for McCluggage, which I think is quite important, that Robertson isn't just a placeholder for McCluggage coming back in the next week, then again, Robertson probably has better JS than at least Sheldrick and maybe even Windhagar there. I guess the last thing, I just want a quick yes or no for this because I don't really think that he's the best option given that Tom McCartan will be back. But Lewis Melican, any food for thought there? Any takers?
Oh, look, I liked his first week better. So he had, 87 points I'm looking at here. But only the 2 marks, 15 touches. Last week it was 10 touches, the 1 mark. Look, we know that they're struggling for key defenders down back, but I'd love to see young Harry Arnold get an opportunity as well. So would he be fighting for someone like an Arnold? Could they both play? I'm really not too sure. Look, if he's named this week and you need a defender, I think he's an option. And I think that's an important point because he's the only defender that we've talked about here. And I think a really popular trade out option this week is going to be Josh Weddle. It's that time to get rid of this bloke. And that's something that's going to be a really tough decision for me. I was really banking on Mullen being available as that downgrade option for Weddle. And I don't have much DPP to fool around with to actually get a non-defender in for Weddle. So given the fact that he is the only defender on this list, yeah, he may spike your interest a little bit more in that particular situation. But I know that a lot of coaches are in my predicament as well. Who do you actually trade down for Weddle if you're not looking to trade up? Yeah. Pretty tough this week unless you're using some DPP, mate. So something to keep in mind. I don't mind him, given the fact that we've really got no other defenders at this stage before team sheets to really bring in this week.
I still like Dev.
Awesome insight there, Dia. And I guess this is the perfect segue to go into. Now, we don't exactly know what the tribunal outcome is for James Sicily, but I want to just raise 2 points here. The first one is, how many weeks does Sicily need to get, or like what is the fewest number of weeks that Sicily can get for you to hold on to him? Now, Spills, I might hand it over to you, but I know what you're going with. He could get 6 weeks and you'd still hold him. But be realistic here, Spills. Come on, mate. How many weeks would you hold him for in your position?
4 max, I reckon, because I do want him for the rest of the season. And I think I've done it. I've spoken a lot about it in my review, but it's still been uploaded. It's been pretty slow, so I haven't actually got it up yet. But when I got to Sicily, my major point for holding him is, well, if you trade him out, you're never going to get him for the rest of the season. He's going to be such a good pod to have, particularly late. Now, it depends where you're ranked as well. So if you're in the top 1%, I'd definitely trade because you want to hold that rank where, like, I've done okay. Like, I started really slow and I've moved myself back into the top 4% overall. So I'm pretty wrapped with that. But let's be realistic here. I'm not going to win. I'm not going to make top 1%. I'll come home strong, but I don't think I have too much to lose where, like, hypothetically, I think I'd rather play a little bit more for leagues. I've still got that mindset. I'd love to improve week in, week out. But if I want to be at my absolute best for leagues, I think having Sicily there, who I think is probably a D2 in terms of average for the rest of the season behind Nick Dacos, and finally playing into position. I mean, what a player he's been. It's been a bit unlucky, though. He's gone 170 and then 130 in my team since I traded him in, plus the 2 suspensions. So it's absolute turmoil off the field. But yeah, I think he'll be booking his Bali tickets as we speak. I think he might have a few connections with Jordan DeGoey, and they're pretty cheap over there. I do work for a bloke actually who's going to Bali on Thursday, I think. So he's taking a couple of weeks off. So he'll let me know if he sees them both at the airport or not. But there's a high chance that he might bump into them at the second terminal or something like that. But boys, I'm a massive hold for Sicily, just in my current position, because I don't have anything to lose. I want to have my best possible team come round 21 to 24, and that's where I sort of see it. So I'm a hold advocate, but everyone's different. And if you're playing for overall, I'd be trading. If you're playing for leagues, I'd hold. And it's as simple as that. What about you, lads?
Yeah, look, I've got to lock horns a little bit here, mate. I think he's a trade. I think he's gone. I thought the same with Oliver. Now, with Oliver, I was almost guessing whether or not he'd be out for 4 weeks or not. It probably wasn't a great guess in the end because we weren't predicting the blister to complicate things as well. But given the fact that I thought, look, there's a chance he's out for 4 is a trade for me. And I counted as 4, including the buy as well. Now, I know that he was going to be missing anyway, but if you can jump on someone, and I'm looking at, I think this is such an easy trade. If you do not own Tom Stewart, this is one of the easiest trades I think you'll make for the season. Sicily to Stewart, done. Bang for me, because you're missing out on 4 weeks worth of scores. You can get someone like Stewart to fill in during that time. And who else are you going to have that's actually going to be covering Sicily? Now, not a lot of people are going to be trading out someone like a Josh Weddle this week. We've got who we got down back like a Chincotta. Did some people go early on a Mullen, a Constable? I don't think there's many teams that are going to actually be holding some decent cover on the bench in our defensive lines after this week. I don't think there's going to be a heap of teams. So that's the issue for me with Sicily is with holding him. Who are you going to actually have covering him? Now, you might have some DPP. If that's the case, if you really feel like he can cover, then go for it. But at his price, you could be getting a month's worth of premium scores from somebody else on basically any line if you got DPP. So for me, if I'm trading out Oliver, I'm trading out Sicily as well. But it's very easy for me to say, Spills, as a non-owner, buddy. As an owner, I don't know how I'd feel the bloke. You just want to punch him in the face and then kiss him, and then it's funny, isn't it? He gives these great scores, man, and then ouch. But yeah, I'm in the trade camp, mate, at this stage.
I think
Janath,
that...
what do you reckon?
Oh, it's just so hard to hold him because you just don't know how long he's out for. If it's 3 weeks, I guess the difference here is that it's technically 4 weeks because he's going to be missing his bye and then 3 weeks after that. And if you can afford to hold him, you're playing for leagues, like Spill said, then go for it. But I think that if you don't have a Stewart, this might be the easiest side swap that we've seen. And at the end of the day, if you do still have trades to come back and get him on when he comes back, then sure, go for it. I just don't. It's just so hard for someone that's playing for rank to hold a donor for 4 weeks. But, and this is the biggest caveat that I think has gone a bit understated here, is the positive implications that this could have on Josh Weddle and Seamus Mitchell. So now that there's a big distributor and interceptor lost from the side, someone like a Weddle who's been playing on, he was playing on key forwards in the Port game, and then he was playing on Charlie Cameron in the Brisbane game. He could really be unlocked as sort of the interceptor now that Sam Frost is out. I'm not sure if he's back this week, but he could become the interceptor. And the same goes to Seamus Mitchell. He may now have more kicking duties or more ball winning and extraction duties to follow suit that James Sicily had been having. And so I think it's worth trading one of them this week because obviously they're on their bye and you've got to get rid of someone, right? But if you have both of them, I wouldn't be cashing in all my chips at once because at least one of them, or maybe even both of them, will definitely prosper without James Sicily being there. Definitely food for thought. And someone could step up. So if you do have a Weddle and a Sicily, you could maybe even hold Sicily and just bank on Josh Weddle taking that next level over these next couple of weeks. Just an alternative perspective on all of this.
Very good point.
Could possibly hold Mitchell until Sicily comes back, like in my personal situation, and just run a loophole between Sin Cotter and Mitchell until Sicily comes back, and then put Shees down in defence as well to cover, and then just sort of I'll have to roll a couple of things around, but I don't mind the idea of it.
There's a fair bit going on. But I guess this also segues into our next sort of popular question here. How many trades do you need to have to sacrifice a trade to get a donut off your field? So I think this comes back to the theory that we always come to during this time of year, the bye rounds, is it really worth that extra 50 points on field if it means with 4 rounds to go you do an abs magic? I'm sorry, mate, but I just have to show and empathize with you here. But you're running out of gas, you're running out of trades, and you're just missing out on those valuable points on field come season's end. So, how many trades do we need to have to make a trade to get any amount of points on field? Is there a certain number?
I think one thing that you got to take into consideration when you're talking about how many trades you've got left is how many trades you need to use to get to full premium. So I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be ending up on maybe 3 to 4 trades by the time they finish their side. At the moment, I'm looking at probably 4 to 5 with the side that I want to finish with. And this isn't including any injuries that we're going to have over the next week or two, touch wood, that we don't have to worry about that. But look, for me, I think that I'd be comfortable with 9+ trades with 2 spots to upgrade, I think. So that's if you got 5 and full premium. Actually, no, 6 and full premium I would trade. If not, I would hold on to it. I don't think it's worth it. And look at the quality of rookies that we're getting at the moment as well. It's not like we're getting these Ashcrofts and these type of blokes are going to absolutely tear the house down. We're getting speculative mid-season type rookies, marriage key forward from West Coast that we're relying on next week, for example. So for me, I don't think it would be worth burning the trades if you're worried that you're going to go below 3 to 4 with full premium.
Yeah.
That's my take, mate.
Spills? Anything to add?
It's a tough one. I've got 21 premiums at the moment, including Max Gorn on the bench. So I'll cash him out. So that's pretty easy. But at the moment, I've got 8 trades. So sort of one down, one up. I'm probably looking at 4 or 5 trades with a completed team.
Not
and
bad.
one of my last primos, DR, is something a little bit sexy in a couple of weeks when a certain player comes back. I won't say who it is, but I reckon you'll know straight away. You'll be very, very cheap. Janath definitely knows who he is. But, we'll see how we go. No, don't be ridiculous. He's not coming in my team. Janath, you're a smart guy.
Is it a man that has a massive ceiling?
Daniel?
It's a man who's got a massive ceiling, but he's had a massive floor.
Yes, I know the man.
He'll be dirt cheap, boys. So he comes in. We could snap him up for 400k, I reckon. Like he would be as cheap as it gets. I know.
No way, mate.
Never
Don't
again.
put me through the
Oh,
pain.
he scored 5 for me. Oh.
There are people out there with Jack Steele at M8 at the end of the year. I'm happy to have that version as Callum Mills, but at least I got him for peanuts. So we'll just see what happens. But
Jack Steele.
full of drive-bys. I've just got my window open.
Mills
The
is
gun's
unhinged.
out.
We've unlocked it. But no, I think I agree with both of you boys there. In terms of it really isn't worth the 50 extra points that you get on field with an 18 score. Because of the fact is, when it comes to the end of the season, you don't want to be in a situation where you've got 2 weeks left and you're going to play with 21. Because if you can't sideswap that injured premium, let's say that's 100 points, 100 by 2 weeks, 200 points, and you're comparing apples and oranges there in terms of how many points you're losing. So strongly advocate just holding strong unless you can finish your team with more than, let's say, 6 injury or sideways trades. There, well, in terms of sideways trades, and we're all about segues here. This is a really popular demand. We're sort of going to roll through our top liners in each of the 4 respective lines. So we're going to start off with defense. Now I know that Kata on Twitter, one of the great guys on Twitter, genuine good bloke, loves to chat SuperCoach with everyone. You've asked in about who we see as the top 6 defenders, top 8 mids, top 2 rucks, and top 6 forwards. We're going to go a bit round table here and start off with the defense. So we're going by average, not by total points, just because it's with all the silly suspensions going around, it's just impossible to figure out who's going to play all the 8 games from here on out. But top 6 defenders, I've got James Sicily at number 1. What do we have?
Up. Agree, mate.
Thumbs
Agree.
up.
I've got the Sis Dog at 1. This is for average as well, as you mentioned. Yep. So Sis Dog at 1. Agreed.
Spills?
It's ironic. The one bloke that's looking to hold him, I've got Dacos, but I just think he's just way too dangerous. And Sicily was played our position for a fair chunk at the start of the season, which should hurt his overall. But I think if you're considering averages from here on out, I don't know if it's averages for the from here.
That's what we're doing from here on out.
Okay, so post-buy, okay. So season average, definitely Dacos, but post-buy is another story. I have to go Sicily.
Yeah. So
right.
I guess for the viewers out there, we're not thinking about season average, because if you don't have the player now, their season average doesn't matter. You want the average from the point you bring them in. If they're a top 8 player from the point you bring them in. So I've got Sicily. DR, you've got Sicily. Spills, have you changed your mind?
Yeah, I have. Because I wasn't aware that it was post-buy. I thought it was like season.
Sorry, mate. That's on us.
Yeah, definitely agree.
2,
yeah, for sure.
Number 2, I've got the great man from Geelong. 6 more games at GMHBA. Tom Stewart.
Tick, tick. Same here, mate.
Spills, Dacos or Stewart?
Oh, probably Dacos, I think. But Stewart plays a massive case.
So I assume that means Stewart at 3 for you?
Yeah.
I've got Dacos at 3. DR?
Dacos at 3.
Dacos at 3. All right. Number 4 is where it gets a bit more interesting. I'll start with you, DR. Who do you have at number 4?
I have Mr. Jordan Dawson at number 4, mate. He hasn't been great for me the last couple of weeks, but I think with his ceiling, his role, wherever he plays, he will score pretty decently. So, JD for me at number 4, mate.
Thumbs up there. Spills?
Yeah, I agree, mate. Dawson for sure. It's hard to go past. He's like 10 points ahead almost in terms of average here. I'm pretty sure.
All right.
So, yeah.
So we've got the same 4, just a slightly different orders there. I think this at number 5 is where we might segue out a little bit. Not sure, but I've got Jack Sinclair. He's got 5 straight Marvel games almost coinciding with the SuperCoach finals. Has a super high ceiling. We just need him to play that halfback role, almost like Nick Dacos. You don't want him to go into the midfield because he's just such a good halfback. Do we boys agree? Do we have anyone else at that number 5 position?
100%, mate.
Thumbs up, mate. Thumbs up.
Yeah, Marvel games so hard to go past. He should towel up there. Loves it.
We haven't disagreed
Awesome.
so far, Janath. And we haven't
I think
looked at
we might
anyone's
here,
list.
though.
I've gone a
Oh,
bit
wait,
sexy, but
we
you
haven't-
boys are just great minds think alike with you two. I've
That
taken
is-
a little bit of a risk, but
We haven't looked at each other's rankings. This is all the top. This is all live. But at number 6, I've gone with a little throwback here. But Caleb Daniel. Caleb Daniel in his new midfield role is playing lights out. We could have got him for sub 500k a month ago. Since then,
are we just
he's
reading
gone
off the same piece of paper, Janath?
144, 117, 169, 125. That's insane. But have we all got Daniel at 6?
I have, my friend. I have.
Oh, that's
You
awesome.
summed it up.
Have a look
Hard
at
to
that.
go past. Yeah,
Have a look
it's
at
hard
that.
to go past that.
That's unreal.
That's unreal. All right. Well, that's brilliant. So we got the top 6. Kata, that's your top 6 right there. Let's go
There you go.
into the midfield. This is where it could get a bit contentious because there's just so many big guns here. I'm going to go with someone that's going to have a month break by the time he plays his next game, Clayton Oliver, at number 1.
Clary, I'm not going past Clary, mate. Number 1 for me too.
Spills?
All right. It's just different, isn't it? We've gone very different here. So I'm still going to back in the Bont just because he's consistent. Okay, he'll just smack out. I think Oliver will outscore him a lot of weeks, but Oliver's just if you want 125, you're going to get it. So, yeah, hard to go past Bont.
And you can't go past the highest average in play in the game at the moment. It's just bank it in. Bank in
Very
the
generic.
VC score. Good stuff. Well, number 2, Spills, where are you going?
Not Oliver, but Rory Laird. I've seen enough, boys. I've seen enough
the
on
desk.
the weekend. The desk. He's
desk.
going to finish strong. Yeah, can't keep a
Got him
champion
at 2 as
down.
well.
Yes, I also have the desk at 2 for me.
Oh,
After
great
what we
minds.
saw
How
last
about
week,
this?
I know it was against West Coast, but
Yeah.
I reckon the desk is back. The man's back.
Yeah,
So,
looks good.
yep,
Should've gone-
number 2 for me.
It's on
too.
100 at half time.
Should
Crazy
have
stuff.
scored 200. Yeah,
Freak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's a freak. All right. Well, at number 3, I guess we're just going to compliment each other here. I've got the Bont at 3. DR, you've got the Bont at 3.
Bonds at
And
3.
Spills, you've got Clary at 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that how it is?
Yeah.
All right. So Oliver, Laird, Bont locked in those top 3. Number 4 could get interesting. And I think that someone that's had a severely underrated season, Tom Liberatore,
don't say
he is
Liber.
a Marvel.
Get
He is a
it.
Marvel merchant. Absolutely loves playing at Marvel. He's got, I think, the next 3 games at Marvel. Yep. He's got how many more?
How's
6
he
more
top
games
4?
at Marvel. Loves Marvel. It's just
Rubbish.
I guess we all agree there as well.
Well, I don't, but I'd love to share.
I do. I've got Libber there at 4, the same
Okay,
as you,
Spills, who
mate.
do you have at 4?
I think big cement bag. I mean, just had such a good season. It's
Cement
so
bag.
close to
Close.
trying him in. I know Clary's going to come back, but I mean, the bloke's had an unbelievable season. Very good player.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I mean, can't really go wrong there, honestly. Petrarca at 4, take it. Yep, that's all good. Number 5.
Well, I've got the cement bag at 5 myself.
Mhm.
So, as I said, very close, Spills. Very close, mate. But, yeah, number 5 for me.
Yeah, so I've got Zach Merritt at 5, just because
Ooh,
we've
nice.
seen in past couple of years just how good he finished the season. So I just think bank that in. With Petrarca, there was just his numbers with Oliver aren't the best. Like, they're decent, but he clearly went to another level without Clary there. And I think he might just come back a little bit down to earth. Not to say that he's not going to be a top 8. I've got him at 6. So just as a segue, it goes, I've got Libba, Merritt, Petrarca after those top 3. DR, who do you have at 6?
I actually had Caleb Sarong. Now, I ended up having him over Zeret. Hang on, 6. Hang on, 1, 2, 3. I said Petrarca, didn't I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry. Yeah, I had Caleb Sarong just ahead of Zeret. The only thing that got me just ahead with Sarong is with Zeret. I think that there may be more teams that actually look to tag. We know he's got that really nice run to end the season, but I think he's probably more of a tag target for me, which puts him slightly behind, mate.
Yep.
Yeah,
Fair
give me a
enough.
shout.
And Spills, who do you have at 6?
Yeah, that's a good shout. I didn't say my 5th, I don't think, because I didn't know what happened.
Sorry, mate. You said Petrarch at 4, so 5
Yeah,
and 6
you just skipped me there. So I've actually got Zach at number 5.
Yep.
Ooh, nice. Yep.
The best bloke, Janath. So
yeah, that's right.
He's a good
I
bloke.
forgot about best bloke points. Let's chuck in a number 1.
Brownie points.
Yeah.
At number 6, I got me number 6 as well. So yeah, Libba gets in there. What a season he's had. His age has just worried me a bit, but how sustainable is his scoring? Does he get tired with the back half of the season? Doesn't look like it, but yeah, just that uncertainty there. I think I've got blokes who I think are more in the prime of their career ahead of him. But yeah, I can't believe the numbers he's putting up. By far the best player for the Dogs this season. Maybe Bond.
Fair enough.
Yeah, great
Fair
shout.
enough there, mate. Seriously, we've got basically the top 6 combined. I think 7 and 8 was extremely difficult for me. And I'm just going to say the 3 players that are tossing up for 2 spots. So it's Caleb Sarong, Lachie Neale, Andy Brayshaw. And I've just slightly changed up my perspective from last week. So I've got Lachie Neale at 7, just because they've got 6 more games left of the Gabba.
Yeah.
And I think they need him to go to another level. In games like the one against the Hawks, DR, you could just tell that was the type of game he could have imposed himself against a strong Hawks midfield and just didn't get himself into the game like Dunkley did.
Yeah.
So I think he will have a really strong end to the season. That's just a gut feel. And I just got Andy Brayshaw just very slightly over Caleb Sarong, solely because we've seen Brayshaw do it before. And Sarong has been monitoring that ankle issue in the past couple of weeks. It's not really impacted him
that's a good point.
But it's just one of those things where to be a top 8 mid, you sort of need everything to go right, unless you're the Bont and you can just carry whatever injury you want to carry, basically. So yeah, Neale 7, Brayshaw 8. DR, who's your 7th and 8th?
So my 7 was Zeret, because I had Sarong at 6. My 8 was Lachie Neale. 9 is Brayshaw. Are we going 10, or are we ending there at Brayshaw?
Oh, if you want to throw in a 10th, go for it.
I don't really, because it was
let's
chuck in a 10. I ended up going Chad Warner. He had a really red-hot end to last season as well. So a bit of a young gun there. Sydney need to get themselves out of a hole, and I think that he may help them to do that. So very tough. You throw a blank at a park, lots of players there. But that's it for me,
Fair
mate.
enough.
Yeah.
Bills, your 7th and 8th?
Yeah, so we got Sarong. Very hard to go past. Had a good year. And then Lachie Neale. Think he'll come home strong. Should be pretty comfortably M8. And then I think a little bit of a gap there, but then you got Brayshaw knocking on the door at 9. He's having a great season too. He's turned things around. And 10, just to spice it up a little bit, boys. This isn't post-buy. This is post-injury. We got Callum Mills. So bring it on.
Mills.
Mills in there.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Mills.
Stop it.
Because once he's gonna be the perfect M10 for me once he is 400k, and that's a price I'm willing to pay.
If everyone's putting out a smoky at 10, I'm just gonna go with my boy Adam Chera. Called it in preseason. He's flying. I think he's averaging at 100 and he's averaging 109. But he's just played. He's had a really good season so far, and I think last 2 scores of 129 and 132. He's sort of carrying the Carlton midfield at the moment, and that's just it's not brilliant to think about it that way. But yeah.
What about? Hang on before you move on, Janath. What about
what's that?
Smokey? No. We'll go back to defense quickly because we did our top 6. But what about a knocking on the door, sort of top 7 or 8, if you could drop one?
Do you want me to drop? Okay, let me go into the wishing well here and drop one. I think. Oh, this is tough, but I think
I've got one written
Josiah Wanganeen Malera from here on out to the end of the season could just about get close to that top 6. He's had a really good stretch in terms of disposals and everything. Spills, is that who you're going with as well?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Another drive by because I bloody love him. But Jordan Ridley, boys, is going to come on.
bloody Ridley.
Who's that a drive by to? Oh, DR.
Yeah, bloody throw Doherty at me. Come on, Janath, throw Doherty at me too. Both of you have a crack.
He's the third.
I did my drive by to both.
4 times in a row.
You both started him.
Yeah, that's right.
I know. But four tons in a row, boys, for Ridley post that 18. So yeah, been great.
Do you have a proper smoky for the defense?
Look, I don't mind Bailey Dale. I'll throw Bailey Dale out there at the Dogs. Richards is out now for a little while. We know JJ's gone for a while, so given their length of injuries, I think he's got enough time to probably get up there, mate. So yeah, bad buy. If he hadn't had that bad buy, he's someone I may have jumped on 2-3 weeks ago now. I was really looking at him, but unfortunate with that round 15 buy, mate.
Awesome. Well, there's the mids and the defenders. Let's go into the ruckman. So hopefully these is answering a bunch of the mailbag questions. By the way, we're sort of, the mailbag support has been incredible over the last couple of weeks. So the podcast has been lengthened. This is just a little bit of a little variation off of that, taking the key themes out of the mailbag segment. Top 2 rucks now. So at 1, I've got the great man, Tim English, the highest average in ruckman so far this season. He showed an incredible floor against Port. That was probably the worst game I've seen from a ruckman for a very long time, and he still got to 99. So it's beyond me how these ruckmen score points.
Yeah, well, at number 1, I've got Kieran. Number 2, it's Briggs. I think at the moment, get a bit of kissing in you. Wow,
get a bit of kissing in you.
Look, in all seriousness, yeah, Tim English for me, mate. Very hard to go. Very hard to go past. You know, the man has just had a phenomenal season, and I don't mean this in a bad way, like I've been wishing this, but I've just been waiting for him to break down, but it just hasn't happened, and that's what really put me off him as a starting selection this year. So kudos to him, as Bills would say, for getting through this far. And as you said, Janath, even when it looks like he's having an absolute dud game for once in his life, I'm rejoicing. Second half, just, he
didn't deserve that.
Unreal. So hard to go past, mate. Spills.
We're just saying this right here, but that was seriously the worst 99-point game I've ever seen.
Oh, he took a couple of intercepts in that third or whatever it was, so he saved it. So he did.
He got about 40 points for his fourth quarter goal. As an owner, we'll take it.
Yeah, I saw that. Come on, his name is Isaac Heaney.
Yeah. Heaney tax.
Heaney tax.
All right. Spills, your 1?
English easily. I mean, how can you go past him? And 2, like you guys joke about it. I'm actually genuinely, I think you can back it up. Briggsy, he's going to finish so strong. He's a man. He's the number 1 man.
You got that honestly, much faith, do you?
I have so much faith in this bloke. I actually fielded him over Gorn. He went 114, and I was pretty happy with that. So Gorn's ton on my bench. I fielded Brigger at R2. I think that's a sign of things to come, and I'm pretty sure, we'll have Briggsy at R2. Rollins there, but I don't know. He's just so consistent as well. Good for a 110, but I reckon Briggsy can almost go 115. He's got the role. He's been waiting years for his opportunity, and hasn't the bloke just capitalised. So come at me for that one, but I've got massive faith in the man.
Look, I couldn't go that high, mate. I've got him at my number 4. Possibly 3, but it's big Jared Witts for me, I think, mate, at number 2. He's really hard to go past, super consistent. We've seen him do it last year, basically all of last year. Captain the club, hopefully getting the Suns very, very close towards finals for the first time. So, I love Kizza. We all know that. Big fan of Kizza, but just could not get him ahead of Big Witsy, mate.
Witsy's done too.
Yeah.
He's got the most coaches votes in that game against Todd Goldstein. He is
What an effort.
as a non-owner,
What
he's
an
one of
effort.
those players where you don't even want to curse them because it's just a joy to watch. Same with George Wardlaw, like they're just good footy players to watch.
Yeah,
I'm so happy to see Kizza come out as a proper third ruckman at the start of the season. Now he's he's in the conversation. And
against Nankervis as well last week, who's probably top 5 ruckman.
Yeah,
what a season he's having.
Haven't been against studs. You know, you look at that Geelong game, maybe the best. Yeah, absolutely.
But yes, I do have Wits at number 2 as well. DR, like you said, Gold Coast really gunning for that first finals appearance. Tuke Miller should be back into the side. He's just feeding that ball down to his midfielders. So you'll see Humphrey benefiting, Anderson, Rao benefiting.
I hope they benefit. I hope Anderson benefits from that.
They almost look better without Miller. Is that crazy to say?
Yeah.
Well, it is, isn't it?
Because he turns it over, Miller. Like, he just hack kicks it like Taranto at the stoppage. Like
it's almost too much, mate. Come on.
Don't bag Taranto.
Mate.
I know. Look, I won't go to the extremity of Kane and say that he's not a top 150 player. No, don't worry, boys. I gave Kane an absolute roast in my round review. So yeah, when that's uploaded, go to the Toronto section, and I gave him bath.
So just quickly, I assume in any order after that. So it's Wits, Marshall, Briggs.
Yeah. So I've got English, Wits, Marshall, Briggs for me. Yeah.
So Wits and Marshall is a real toss-up because Marshall has the ceiling, but he also has a little bit of a lower floor. Versus
agreed. Yeah.
Against Wits, who's got that real consistent floor and not as high a ceiling, but I guess his average doesn't really matter with average. And if you're going by total points, I just see I'm more confident Wits playing every game this season than Marshall is, even though Wits is the one that's missed games this season because of an injury.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah. I agree.
That's probably a realistic order, but yeah, I'm backing your boy for now. We'll see what happens.
Backing your boy. I hope so, mate.
I'm happy to swallow my words in 3 weeks, but now.
That's it. We're looking back on our big calls from earlier this year. I said that Harry Sheasel's going to be a top 6 forward and defender.
Will Day over Sicily.
Yeah. Gee. I think I've had a couple of shockers as well. Oh, no.
That's an all-time shocker. That is, give me a Caro Zero. Give me an everything for that, mate. Come on.
That's the one you tell the grandkids. Hey, kids. There was one time I said Will Day would be a better SuperCoach player than James Sicily. He finally turned up for me, by the way. Finally got a ton.
There's hope. If we go total points, maybe slight chance.
You don't look convinced, mate.
No, zero conviction. But I guess we've talked about defenders, midfielders, and rucks. Let's finish off with the forward lines. And I think, come on, seriously, this man has had 440 plus point games in the last 5 games. Is there any way we can go past Josh Dunkley?
No, not a chance.
All right,
not
easiest F1. Let's hope he continues it because I think we've got a cheeky VC going on him this week.
Absolutely.
I think we should all have a VC on him.
Everyone should have VC on him.
Last week. Yeah.
Now, number 2, this might get a bit interesting, but I still think that Tim Taranto is probably the second best forward, who's just been a real revelation in our forward lines this year. Some people at the start of the year were saying, he hacks the ball too much, so he's not going to score well. Well, he hacks it, but he still scores well. So we got him. We got him at 500k, and he's just been a brilliant set and forget forward in our forward lines this year. Any difference there?
No, I've got him locked in there as well, mate. And do you know what? Funnily enough, when you look at midfield averages, he's right up there for midfielders as well, not just the forwards. And I think he's seriously in the conversation next year as a selection in our midfields. I don't know if I could go there myself, but he's earned the right at this stage to at least be in the conversation for me anyway.
He's M5 on average. Like if you just think about Dunkley's at M3, that's really interesting to think about. We have 2.
Crazy.
Like this is probably the first year in a very long time we have 2 forwards that are averaging 119 plus. Like that's a lot of points on a week-to-week basis.
It's a gift. It's a gift in our forward line, really, isn't it? It's an absolute gift. Yeah.
And both of them, I don't think both of them will be forwards next year. Like, definitely not Taranto.
surely not.
Has Dunkley played any forward time this year?
Oh, look, he's rested there at times, but we haven't actually utilised him as much in the forward line as what we could have, I don't think, at times. Look, I'd much rather him in the midfield. That's it. I could go on a completely different story here. But long story short, mate, I reckon this is the last time in a very long time that we'll be able to select Jay Dunkley as a forward. I think it'd be just...
He hasn't even kicked a goal this year, DR.
First one on the weekend, mate.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
That'll be hot. Did you do this one? Did you do the aces?
Look, I didn't see the celebration because
I've got to watch over
10
that.
seconds.
That's be huge.
Got to digress because we don't like gambling around here. But Brent, my best mate, went to the footy with him, had a very cheeky, this is literally a $1 multi-bet, had about 20 legs on there, ended up winning it. 20 legs, I think this was, but he was also going to go with Josh Dunkley for a goal that was going to triple the winnings back. And I've gone, mate, he has not kicked a goal for us. Don't do it. He's like, you sure? I'm like, nah, mate. Like I'm telling you, he hasn't kicked a goal for us in Lions colours. And he did. So I didn't see the celebration still because I turned to Brent and Brent's like, yeah, what are you doing to me? I'm like, sorry, I owe you a beer at Crown. So
just on that DR. On a quick tangent. It won't be too much of a rant.
Sorry,
but was Steve with you when he met Brent? Did he meet Brent on the weekend?
He was. Steve was with me.
How'd they get along?
Swimmingly, mate. Swimmingly. How can you not with Brent? Swimmingly, mate. A couple of loose units, but a couple of blokes that I absolutely love with all of my heart. Couldn't imagine better company unless you two were there also, boys. So had a ripper day. Had a ripper day.
The whole gang together.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah. Sorry, went on tangent there.
Tangents, but that's okay. That is okay. Spills, your F2.
Yeah. Oh, you can't not go with Taranto. He's not a top 50 in Kane's eyes, but he's a top 2 forward in my eyes, and definitely a top 10 midfielder of the whole competition almost. I mean, he's up there. The only reason he didn't get a vote, I think he's I think
five.
So.
I'm saying more. He's probably in the Brownlow. He's in Brownlow contention. Yeah. Not Brownlow.
Almost ahead of Libba, but because he's got DPP, he's in the forward line. But if he was just a mid only, the conversation is different. I mean, Kane Corns far out. This is worked in the World Call a couple of years ago.
Get out of it. Well, same top 2 for us then, boys. Same top 2.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think we're going to see my F3 in the forward line next year either. Your boy DR, Sack Butters. He's leading the coaches award. And at this rate, unless he gets injured, which knock on wood, as just a football fan, that he doesn't because he's a joy to watch. He's at F3. It's almost like he's just got the most insane ceiling and you just never know when it will erupt. He could go off in any given game.
He's just like the Energizer Bunny. He's so exciting. Like when he gets the ball, it's like he's going everywhere. But he's got one of the best steps that I've seen as well. Just the pace, the courage, the skill. He's such a joy to own, this bloke. Such a joy to own. And I was very close to actually having him at 2. But I just think that you can't deny the season that Taranto's had so far. But he's a pretty much clear number 3 for me at this stage, mate. I think I've got those 3 almost in a league of their own. Maybe a little bit disrespectful to my number 4, but
I think so.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those first 3. Maybe a bit disrespectful though.
All right, Spills.
Yeah, I have to agree with DR. You got to have Butters. He's a gun.
Yeah.
Just been an unbelievable player. I slowed down a bit. I thought he was better than 118, honestly, but maybe he butched it. I don't know, but he just looks like a star. I mean, didn't check the scores on Friday, and just unbelievable. And yes, they're clear top 3 in my mind.
That Port midfield into the future is going to be
it's sexy, so sexy.
They're all the same age, basically the same age, and they're all going to grow together at the same time. They're all going to be in their prime at the same time. Just imagine That's like going up against the prime West Coast midfield with Cousins, Judd, Embley, Kerr. Like it's just
What
be
2019 Bulldogs, I reckon.
Yeah, and they all
2019,
offer something different, don't they? They're not the same midfielder. They've got such a variety there. It is so exciting for these blokes.
So jealous.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun ride. If you did not follow the AFL and you're looking for a team to jump on now, I'd tell you what, Port Adelaide, they're going to be a pretty exciting team. Jump on the ride. Actually, come to Lions. Come bugger Port. Come to Lions.
Yeah, as long as you don't go watch them in Melbourne, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop a drive-by on someone. Unless they're playing Carlton. That's going to be fun.
He's such a nice bloke. He gives himself a drive-by after he drives over
easy.
me.
No, to be fair, that's an easy kill.
Number 4. This is why I was saying is a bit disrespectful because we've got a newbie, we've got an intruder, Jack McRae. I think he had 3% CBAs and he still scored 120. Like he doesn't need CBAs. That's what we've learned this year, and he'll just continue to grow just in this role. He could be the one. He could be a F1 in our starting sides next year. Think about it, because none of the top 3 that we mentioned are getting forward status. Connor Rosie is rarely played in the forward line this year. He's going to be a bit iffy.
That's a good point, mate.
Jack McRae may be a F1 next year.
Look, totally agree. And that's why I said it's a little bit disrespectful saying that there's a clear top 3 because this bloke is absolute super coach royalty. It's just obviously his role that's been screwed around with. So, look, Jack McRae is a permanent CBA midfielder. Hey, let me pay up $600K plus in a midfield for him. But, look, still really, really like his prospects. Just doesn't have the ceiling like he has previous years. But, number 4 for me as well, boys.
Spills?
Yeah, easily. Yeah, McRae.
Easily?
No more needs to be said.
Cool. Well, let's go to our F5 then. Do we differ here? We've got the same 4 so far?
Surely not.
Have we got another Port Adelaide boy? Another Port Adelaide midfield in here?
Yeah, next one,
and it's not Jason Ward-Francis.
Not Jack. I was going with Ollie Lord myself, but easy lock there. Yeah.
Williams. Williams, boys.
Connor Rosie.
Dill
Williams. Well. Yeah. Easy one for me. Connor Rosie, super talent. I don't think much needs to be said. In the stock market each week, he's my safest houses pick. You just know that he's not going to have your terrible game. Could pop off, but generally he's going to get you 95 to 120 most weeks, I think. So, yep. Connor Rosie. Number 6.
Happy with that? And then number 6. Now, this is going to be very interesting. I might start with you, Spills. I just want to hear where you've gone with your number 6.
Oh, I love a bolter, as you boys know. So, we got Cogs. He's going to come home strong, I reckon. I like his response on the weekend. Cogs, I reckon I back him in from here on out. Should average really nicely. I know it's deflated a little bit, but I just like him. I think he's one of those you can't keep a champion down for too long. He's had a bit of a rough patch, but he should come home pretty strong. I do worry with Tom Green though on Cogs' form.
Do you know what annoys me about Stephen Caniglio? Is that he goes to the bench at the worst times. Every single time the game is on the line.
Yeah.
What do you know? He's on the bench. He just loves going to the bench at the end of quarters. Like, come on, man.
Now that you say that is so true. Spills, I must admit, I thought you were going for the pun there with the bolter. I thought you were going with
That's what Bolton. I was saying. I thought it was Bolton.
But then,
he's been really good. We've got to have a drive-by here. When's the last time Spills has dropped a pun on us? He is not a pun man.
No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not creative. I'm not like the Insider Boys lads. They've just got puns in a goodie bag, just chucking them out wherever they feel free to. But I can't think like that. Like, I don't know. I just
mate, even Scoops, when he came on, mate, gave you spill the beans as his little pun. Come on, mate. If Scoops can get up to it, mate.
That's a shocker, though. Oh.
You didn't sound too impressed. I think your reply was, I haven't heard that before.
Are you going for Bolton?
No, I'm not, mate. I'm actually going, this may be a little bit of hope, But I'm going with Decam. I'm going with Decam as my number 6, mate. I think with that number 1 ruck role, he's clearly got the role there at Collingwood. I think he's just going to get better as the season progresses. Remember, had a red hot start to the season before he went out with injury there. So I'm hoping he can have a really, really nice end to the season, mate, and even scrape in to that top 6. And like a shout out to, I think someone like a Jeremy Cameron. Geelong have got some blokes coming back now. So I think if they get on a bit of a run, I think Cameron can get on a bit of a run as well. So, look, that one was really, really tough for me. Cogs as well. Could have been Bolton, but Decam for me, mate. Really interested to hear who you're going with, because we've agreed on, I reckon 90% of these picks, Janath, literally pick for pick. You and I have been on song with together. So who's your number 6, buddy?
Now, has anybody heard of a 4-sided coin?
A 4-sided coin.
A 4-sided coin.
Explain it to me, Janath.
Yeah, I'm confused. This is.
Yeah.
I'm flipping the coin between those 4 names at the bottom there. Whoops. Let's move it this way. So I've got Nick Martin, Darcy Cameron, Harry Himmelberg, and Shea Bolton. These 4, I can't split them. And they are all so team dependent, which is the thing. Nick Martin is going to take his game to another level. Watching him live,
boys.
New one, and he could genuinely crack that top 5. I think out of these 4 players, he's the one that has that next level to go to. If he gets inside mid-minutes, he's a good player. He could crack that top 5. Cameron, for role, safe side. This is what I don't get. This is what I was mentioning, that with Supercoach Ruckman, if Tim English's game was a 99, Darcy Cameron's game should have been so much more than a 92. And the worst part about it, as an owner, he's off on the bench for 10 minutes in the second quarter when he's just getting going. And then Mason Cox steals all his points during that time. And then he gets the blood rule twice in quarter 4. And you're like, come on.
Yeah.
But he's really consistent. Harry Himmelberg, again, for ceiling, it's just that if the ball's not down there, he's just not going to score overly well. But the coach has settled him in that position. And I think that's that. And then Shea Bolton, if you do want that bolter, he's got 4 120 plus scores in his past 6 games. 3 of them are 139 or above. That's ceiling. If you want that ceiling, he's the man. But I've been burnt by him, so it's once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah, many have. Did
you get that? Do you get that?
Yes,
once bitten, twice shy.
Yes,
so that's
absolutely,
that's how
mate.
we're rolling off the puns, Phils. That's how you do it, mate.
It's too good for me, Janath. One thing I'm not, boys. I'm not quick-witted at all. I'm bloody.
You underrate yourself, mate. You underrate yourself, mate.
You underrate it. But I think we've sort of nailed everything there.
Nice job, boys.
So
it's a tough job, though, as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, that wraps up a sort of a new segment in terms of the popular question segment. We aim to cover parts of the mailbag questions which you've been providing to us this week. As always, appreciate the support. But something a bit more special this week is DR is going to do his own sort of take on some of the questions which you provided in the mailbag, provide an incentive for those that have given questions in. So hopefully you'll feature on DR's channel in the coming days. But let's move on to our trades and our captains. So I might start us off here in terms of trades. At the moment, I'm thinking of moving Asava. So finally, it doesn't look like he's going to play this weekend. I just held him on just in case he comes back and can act as that 19th body in this round. But it doesn't look like he's going to play. So going to move him on. Going to move on Josh Weddle just because he has a bit of more cash tied up into him than Seamus Mitchell. And I'm actually thinking of moving on Alex Chincotta as well. So Chincotta probably has one more week. He's going to be a trade next week anyway. And I really can't do a primo plus unless I bring in like Ryan Marich this week, which is where Mullen may have come in handy as a 102K. But I'm looking to bring in a primo mid, one of Neil, Brayshaw, Sarong. So this discussion was quite handy, actually. And then I'm looking to bring in a couple of those expensive rookies. So if that's the case, I'm at the moment looking at Robertson and Windhagar But if Sheldrick is named alongside Parker, that could change things up as well. Really looking to maximize on-field points this week, which is something that a lot of teams may or may not just be able to do, given the doubt around Sicily and around Jack Steele's knee. And if Zach Merritt got 18 next week, if Zach Merritt got suspended, we would have had end up with 14 players next week. Some teams would have been that way, and we're just thanking our lucky stars for that. DR, your trades.
Before you get into it, the verdict isn't out yet. But people, I commented on this 3 minutes ago. Free stick dog, 20 likes. 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, this feels
20 likes in 3 minutes. Free stick dog. Everyone's
not a bad ratio there, mate. Not a bad ratio at all, mate.
Free this man, surely. Come on, carry on.
I don't think there's any way, really. Now, look, really, really tough for me this week with my trades because I was really, really banking on Mullen playing. That isn't great banking on Mullen playing, is it? Particularly with and we know he's injured, but even with the bloke coming back for Geelong, it was, some may say, unlikely. So, look, I'll quickly I've got this written down, boys. So this was meant to be the plan. I'll tell you what the plan was meant to be over a 2-week period. My team is completed by round 15. So this week, it was just meant to be simple. It was Weddle out for Mullen. Now, I'd love to keep on to Weds. And after hearing what you said about him before, Janath, with Sistog going down, maybe favourable for him, I'll tell you what, makes it difficult to trade the great man out, doesn't it, when he could have an even better role and more cash to make. But I think he's probably the obvious trade out. So it was Weddle out for Mullen. Can't happen now, though. Then it was going to be using DPP, Chincotta to Marriage, Ford to DMAC, Humphrey to Fife, and Ashcroft, to Oliver. So that's basically 5 trades in a 2-week period that I could be making there. So I don't mind the sound of that. Even this week, I'll tell you what, I would finish my side this week if Tom Liberatore didn't have the round 15 bye. So if Libba had already had his bye, I would actually be finalising my side this week, I think, with Libba in. So, look, the issue for me is I was even thinking instead of, because Fife is going to be in my trade plans, and the reason why Fife very quickly was in my trade plans was that with Humphrey out, I didn't want to go down to just an absolute nobody that wasn't guaranteed to give me some good cover. I thought if I can just go down around someone 100K, that's going to give me enough to get onto Oliver. And I think even if Fife scores really well, I think there'll still be at least 100K difference between Humphrey and Fife as well. So, they're my plans, but I can't actually go Weddle to Mullen. So it might be Weddle to Fife this week, I think, but that will screw my DPP for future trades. So long story short, probably nothing after all that. Probably nothing.
It's fair enough. And then yourself, Spills?
Yeah, well, I was pretty happy on O'Shane, but I think he's on his way to the morgue to be frozen or whatever, and straight to the rookie cemetery. So, yeah, not gonna go near him, the poor bugger. But I'm actually not convinced, but semi-convinced on DR about an hour ago. But if I was to go down, I think Dev Robertson would be the one I bring in. I mean, 20 break even, McCluggage out for the week. Surely they play him a little bit more on the ball. So, and there's just nothing really. Like, I like not Mansell. I keep getting confused between Mansell and Marek. Yeah, so Mansell's one that copped the suspension. Marek next week. So I think on the bubble, he should be good. See what he does at home. But just a downgrade. And got the bye. That's the only real. Yeah. That's the only real. That's the only problem with him. So. Yeah, there's a fair chance I do nothing because the man that I'd want to downgrade from would be Seamus Mitchell. And I have a feeling I'm going to need him for Sicily cover. I would poll he and Sincotta at D6 and then once Sicily would come on to hopefully finish my side. Depending on how bad it is, we'll keep checking the the verdict and see how many weeks he gets. Might get off yet. I doubt it, but yeah, look, I'm not planning anything too radical. I've got 8 trades left and no real reason to use any of them. Maybe bank some cash for next week, but yeah, we'll see how we go. What about yourself,
and
Janath?
keep in mind, one thing that I think, DR, this is handy for you because you've got a boost in a couple of boosts. So I've got one boost as well. But next week, before round 15, I think we sort of want to be planning ahead to which rookies we can sort of pencil in to bring in. So I'm thinking Harvey Harrison, if he stays in the team with Jamie Elliott, Ryan Marriage. So I wouldn't be going early on these guys because you're losing out on options that you, with the boost, you sort of have to bring in 2 rookies. There's no way you're going to bring in a primo and 3 mid prices, for instance. Or
That's right, mate.
But it's not really it's not really the most optimal use of a boost in most instances, right? So
exactly.
And just quick shout out to the SuperCoach Bull. He was the man that asked us about Dev Robertson.
Dev, yeah.
So great question there, and he nailed the Ben Keys pick last week. So definitely give the SC Bull a good rap on Twitter. Awesome bloke. And yeah, always handy and helpful in the SuperCoach community. Well, to 100%. Wrap up the podcast, I guess we'll go into captains. I think I'm not going to touch this, I reckon, from now on until the end of the week. Josh Dunkley into Marcus Bontempelli. Dunks in the form of his life against Sydney, and then the Bont against North, who's just giving up a stack of points to midfielders, even with Liam Shields. Like, I feel Liam Shields could go to Libba more so than the Bont, just because it's just hard to keep up with the Bont around the ground in the way that he moves, isn't it? Any differences there?
I'm the same, mate. I'm the same. I'm not going Josh Dunkley again. Oh, he's punished me. I love the man. I should have had more faith in him. But I'm not making the same mistake again. He's just in phenomenal form, this bloke. And I think it's so easy, isn't it? It doesn't really matter about timing with the buy players. But, the early game, you lock that in. Late game, in case that doesn't work. Easy, mate. Easy. Even with the knee issue, even with Shields, Shields can tag something like a Zeret maybe with that smaller body, but Bont's a monster. Yeah, good luck, Liam. You're not going to stop the Bont, mate. So, Dunks into Bont for me. Spills any different, mate, or are you going with the flow?
No, I'm gonna VC Dunkley. Plays early and just in such red form, and yeah, captaincy wise, I'm in the minority here, but I find myself, it's just very hard to go past Big Kizza, isn't it? Against the Dockers, against big Dogger Jackson.
No. Are you you're dead set, are you?
Got to give the bloke a bath, I reckon.
Wow. I want to see that, man. I hope you do.
And Spills, I'll tell you what. So at Third Man Up, we do our Captain's Corner weekly roundup, right? And we actually have Kieran Briggs on our list for this week. So we got Brigger, big Brig Dog.
Yeah.
And
big dog.
The fact is,
he's a big Briggsy.
Give me a bit of Kizza.
Briggsy.
But yeah, he's on there. I'm not saying he's the best pick, but he's on there. I'll tell you what, though, just some numbers on Bontempelli. When North played Essendon, Merritt 137. When they played Collingwood, DeGoey 156. When they played Sydney, Parker 136. Back-to-back weeks against big-bodied mids. I think that's just I love the left field Briggs play there, Spills, but you're a dangerous man to go Briggs over.
Fonty's hard to go past, but I'd love to captain Briggs just for the meme of it.
Just for the meme of it.
Man. If he just went 120
and then he drops a 140.
Yeah, imagine you would be the king, mate.
For it.
Imagine being able to take a screenshot of that, having the kahunas to do that. That would be so cool. I'm trying to talk him into it just for my entertainment. I just want to.
No, stuff. I'll show you. I'll show you that I'm not full of shit. Like I'm actually, I haven't done it yet because my team's reversed from my review. But yeah, she's on, boys.
Get a bit of orange on Kizza. That's what I say. Get a bit of orange on Kizza.
It matches
the orange team. Score,
The orange
projected
team, that's
score
right.
of 113, which is probably about stock standard, but
Oh, I love that
Yeah.
so much.
there
It's
we
so
go.
underrated spills. That
Dogger
dude.
Jackson, I mean, look at that's different. Dogger's a big man, but Kizza's like cement bag, like Petrarca if he was 2 foot taller. Like he's the ultimate cement bag. He's like 2 cement bags stacked on top of each other. So he's going to give him a bath. I don't know where it is. It's probably, I think it's at Giant Stadium, so at home. So we love that too.
It is.
Back to big
Well,
time.
Love that, man.
Just so that we don't have Spills ramble on about Kieran Briggs for the rest of the podcast or about his draft team, we're going to leave it there. A massive podcast episode there, season 3, episode 11. As always, I keep reiterating this, but thank you so much for the support. We've been ticking on average of about 1.5k viewers per episode. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the bands, the insights, just everything coming together in culmination. And we've given our top liners in each line. That's what you can take out of this episode if you take anything out of it. But as always, stay safe. Hope you all have a good SuperCoach week. And we'll see you next week for the SuperCoach Swordplay Podcast.
See you, lads.
On your legends.